So you're PCSing into JBLM. Well, then you're gonna wanna stick around. This video is gonna be just for you. In this video, I'm gonna answer one of the questions that most families have when they PCS into JBLM, and that is, what suburbs are the best ones for them? Often you are coming from out of state, you have a very limited amount of time, and often JBLM has no on-base housing. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 suburbs that you need to know about so that you can make your move smoothly over to JBLM, and we're getting into it right now. All right, what's up? If this is your first time to our channel, we talk about everything about the Tacoma area and JBLM, living, working, playing, breathing, eating, sleeping. If you can imagine it and involves Tacoma or JBLM, we are covering it. So be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so that you can be the first one in the know about the local market here. And don't forget, Chris, myself, and the team, we're actually getting phone calls, texts, and emails every single day from soldiers and military family just like you, looking to make a smooth move to JBLM. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, shoot us a phone call, a text, or an email so we can help you make that smooth transition. All right, so here we are. Number 1 on my list of suburbs that you need to look into if you're coming to JBLM is University Place, Washington. Now, University Place, Washington, you can see it's over here out west of Tacoma and a little bit northwest of JBLM. Now, it does look like it's a little bit off to the west. However, if you take a look, you'll notice that coming down I-5, it's only about a 24-minute drive to the gate. Now, this is substantial because everything in this region does take a really long time to get to. So, for example, from my house to get into Tacoma, some days can take 45 minutes. But heading south on I-5, this is a pretty accurate estimate of how long it's going to take you to ultimately get to JBLM. Now, if we look at the map, here we are. A couple things that I really love about University Place is the town, again, is about 35,000 people, so it's not super big. A lot of the downtown area is quite a bit newer. Everything has a new, fresh feel to it. You can see here right in the middle of town, you got your Trader Joe's and a Safeway, so you have really good shopping options right there in the middle of town for you. There's also a bunch of really great coffee shops. University Place has fantastic public and private schools. In fact, if we go down south here, we'll see the Charles Wright Academy. This is a beautiful, beautiful private school. Stunning views there. It's really close to Chambers Creek. Ultimately, this is a really great school if you're someone that likes to bring your children into your new base and put them in a private school. This would be a great spot to look at for them. Also, we have Chambers Bay. This is a beautiful, just a stunning park. I think pretty much everybody spends a lot of time at Chambers Bay between the golf course and the park itself. It's beautiful. You have really amazing views of the sound, and you can see just across the ocean. It's just absolutely stunning. And of course, the golf course there is built out sort of like a Scottish style looking golf course. So this is a place that I highly recommend everyone looks at whenever they're considering making a move to JBLM. Now, of course, as you might have noticed if you've been doing any type of research whatsoever, you've clearly learned that costs in the Pacific Northwest are quite a bit more expensive than probably where you're coming from. So let's take a quick peek at what housing looks like. All right, so here's kind of a market snapshot of where we're at. The average price point right now is about $624,000. Now, this trend is slightly higher than Tacoma proper. It's definitely higher than what you're going to see if you are looking in places like Lakewood or maybe Dupont. And then of course, here's some of the homes you can see listed. So obviously on the water, you're 1.495. You got condos for $399. Anything with the water view is obviously going to be pretty pricey, but here's a home right here. 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 200 square foot for $659. Updated, it's pretty nice. Here's one for $650. 4 beds, 2.5 baths. So if you're coming with kids, you can be spending somewhere in that $600 to $650 range for housing. So that's University Place. That is the first place I would recommend you take a peek at when you're heading out this way to JBLM. All right, so suburb number 2 you need to look into if you're going to be staying at JBLM for any sort of time and looking to buy a house, I would say would be Dupont. Now, back in 2020, the census said that Dupont was just under 11,000 people. This town is actually named after the Dupont chemical company that operated explosive building here in the area. It's also home to the original Fort Nisqually. And as far as your day-to-day drive, you can see here you're looking at about 10 miles to that to that gate there. And about a 15 to 20 minute drive. And again, this is about average if you ask me as far as the drive goes. Now looking at Dupont itself, you are again right there, western side of Tacoma. You are right up against the sound. You have the home course. You have the original Fort Nisqually site, which is a pretty cool historical landmark. Lots of great parks for the family, so if that's kind of something you're into, then this is a really great place. Tons of parks in this area. Families here do tend to be a little bit more conservative. This is a big time city for military families coming into JBLM. Of course, you can see down here south, you kind of have some of the restaurants and things like that as you're getting closer and heading down I-5 towards JBLM. So housing, you will see housing going down these streets with American flags and kind of that more Midwestern feel. So if you're coming from an area like that, this might be something that you really feel quite a bit more comfortable with. Now, as far as housing, again, there's not a ton of inventory ever in Dupont. Again, it's a smaller area, but if you look at the average price point right now, it sits at about $49,000 per home, and that is up about 20 grand since the last reading. Average days on market too is going down, and part of this is because JBLM does not have any housing, so people are having to find it elsewhere. Let's take a quick look at some of these properties here. So here you go. Here's one on Hilton Circle, $695, 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 3,200 square feet. Now I know if you're coming from out of the area, this does look super expensive, but compared to the majority of the Seattle Tacoma area, it's a pretty good price. You have condos for about $359. Here is a 3-bed, 2.5 bath for $439. So you can see there's a broad range of homes. This one is $890, 2,500 square feet. Really beautiful home. It's already pending, obviously, off the market. Does have some land. So there's a big variety of homes in this region. If Dupont seems like it's something that's great for you. Again, I do have a list of all the homes for sale in all these areas in the description box below. So be sure to check out those links and shop around some of those areas. Coming in at number 3 on our list, and this one is probably the most popular of all destinations for people PCSing into JBLM, is Lakewood, Washington. Lakewood is a town of about 19 square miles, just under 70,000 people. And I will tell you that the lower than average home prices are a huge turn on to a lot of soldiers relocating into the area. So if you're living in Lakewood, you can estimate that you're going to sit at about a 12-minute drive onto base. This is less than 4 miles away. So obviously you can see the huge appeal as to why Lakewood is a booming option for a lot of people PCSing into this area. Now, if we look at Lakewood and the lines, you can see that it is, again, just west of Tacoma. Again, you're kind of seeing a trend in this area. And one of the best things about Lakewood is, well, the lakes. So you have access to American Lake here down south. You also have Stillicum Lake here, which has got some beautiful areas. You just have little lakes kind of popping up all over. Fort Stillicum Park is kind of the crown jewel of Lakewood. And when I say that, this 380-acre park inside of Lakewood draws somewhere around about 1 million visitors a year. So it's really definitely a hot spot. Couple that with, you know, its ability to be so close to the base. And you have some things that I like you know, the Chick-fil-A in here. It has its own movie theater, Safeway. This is one of the bigger areas, in my opinion, that fit really well for soldiers coming into JBLM. And we do see a lot of relocations in and out of moving to Lakewood. So again, one of the huge appeals that Lakewood has is its cost of living comparatively. You can see right now there are 39 homes on market as we speak, with an average price point of $472,000. And this is a great one because it puts you close to the sound. It puts you right with a bunch of lakes. You're 10 minutes from the base, and you're basically butting right up against Tacoma. So you have access to the city if that's something that's important to you. I know for a lot of families that I'm speaking with right now, they kind of want to be in a similar type environment where they have a little bit more space, like they might be having in Kansas or Virginia, but they're also wanting to be close enough to things like downtown so that they want to do something, they aren't stuck far, far away. We take a look at some of these homes for sale in the Tacoma area. You can see here's a 5-bed, 3.2 bath for $600,000, and that one is already pending. 4-bed, 2-bath, 900 square foot for $325,000. Right as we're going through, this is obviously a big commercial space. $950,000 for this one, $474,000, so $269,995. Again, homes in Washington are not cheap by any means, but compared to areas like Seattle, as we're scrolling through here, we can tell that Lakewood does boast some more inexpensive options that you can take advantage of. Number 4 on my list of the top 5 suburbs I see families moving to in their PCSing into JBLM is Puyallup. Now, if you take a look at this map, you can kind of see some reference points from where Puyallup is compared to over by Lakewood. Now, there is a little bit of a stretch here, and then of course here is JBLM. But the great thing about Puyallup when it comes to getting to work every day is that it's about a 22 to 25 minute drive, due to the fact that 512 is not as hellacious as places like I-5. So you kind of get that southern end of Tacoma versus the northern end's traffic. Now, when we look at what Puyallup has to offer for us, there is a lot here. So the town itself is about 15 square miles, roughly 40 some odd thousand people, and it has a lot to offer. So 2 big malls. If you look down south, the South Hill Mall is a huge staple. This is a place where I can say that my kids personally like to go shop and hang out. It's got a lot of clothing, Targets in there, and a lot of other things in there, Dick's Sporting Goods. It's a good little place there. Heading into more of the old downtown, you do have amazing restaurants and coffee shops. My buddy Brian owns Anthem Coffee and Tea. This is one of my favorite coffee shops in the entire Pacific Northwest. They do have a few different locations. This one downtown is super easy to get to. And just up the road from it is Crockett's Public House. This is probably one of my favorite restaurants to sneak by and eat at. My business partner Chris and I actually at one point started what we called the Cheeseburger Club at Crockett's. So
Really fun area. Not to mention, this is actually the home of the Washington State Fair. So the fairgrounds are here in Puyallup, and you can see just by looking at the map how much is going on inside of Puyallup. There's a lot to do here. And again, you're about 10 miles away from Tacoma, but you're also only about 35 miles away from Seattle. So if you are someone that likes to go into the city on a regular basis, Puyallup could be a really great option for you. Now, home prices out this way are going to be more towards that $545 price range. There's a lot more on the market than as we saw in places like Lakewood and Dupont, just because of the great residential areas. South of Puyallup is South Hill, which is mostly all residential spaces. So there's a lot of newer developments, newer homes, and still at a really good price range. So let's just take a quick look. Right now there's 518 listings on here. 569, it's a 5-bed, 2.5 bath for 2,500 square feet. That's a deal right there. Here's a 5-bed, 2.75 bath, 3,600 square foot ish for $879, $859, $425, $360, $579, $679. Of course, these right here are new builds, so you can check those out anytime. They're building the lots right now. And those are another great opportunity that Puyallup has, is all of these new build opportunities. 524.5. So I know these prices kind of come as a shock when you're PCSing in from someplace like Kansas, but that's where they sit at. So that kind of gives you a little idea of what homes are priced like in Puyallup. And right, guys, now we're on to our last suburb. All right, here we are at our final and last stop when it comes to top 5 suburbs that I'm seeing more and more people PCSing to living in right now for JBLM. And surprisingly enough, this one is completely different than any of the other ones that we've talked about or shown. This one is a small town, less than 6 square miles, called Yelm. Now, Yelm doesn't have a whole lot happening, but when you're working every day on base and you work those long hours, you're in the field for days on end, sometimes the small town feel is exactly what you need. So if you're in Yelm and you need to drive to Mainline, it's about 27 minutes and about 15 miles to that area. Obviously, getting closer to ranges and things like that have different options for you there. But Yelm itself is again a small town feel. You can just see by the outline of roads. There's a Gather Gastropub, there's a McDonald's. Yelm does have its own movie theater. It does have bowling lanes. So there are some things to do inside of Yelm. Some of the major appeals to it are the smaller school systems from kids, PCS, their families, obviously. The golf courses, the little splash pad at the park. There's fun things to do that gives you that small town feel. So you're not going from a more rural area to throwing yourself right into a place like Tacoma. The other advantage to Yelm is the price of homes. So when we look at the price of a house in Yelm, you see that it's about $390,000. This is almost on par with the average in America at this point. So you kind of escape West Coast price fix by moving into Yelm. And if we look at some of these houses, again, here's a pre-built one. This is a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 2,200 square foot for $475. This one, of course, just went pending. It's beautiful. Now, you do see some of these higher price ones here. These are all going to be brand new construction. Obviously, if you decide to buy brand new construction, that's going to cost you a little bit more money than anything else. And there's a huge variety of housing types. Here's a 4-bed, 2.5 bath for $449. So Yelm is a much more affordable option. If you really enjoy living a little bit more rural life, this is an area I would highly recommend you taking a look at.
All right, well, there you have it, the top 5 suburbs we are seeing more and more people deciding to relocate to when they move to JBLM. Now, like I said in the video, there is a link below in the description for each one of those suburbs so that you can freely shop for homes without having to mess with Zillow or Realtor.com, people calling you and bothering you. Also in the description box below is all my contact information. If you're going to be PCSing out here, feel free to set up a Zoom with me so we can help you make that smooth move out this way. Again, whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, we're getting phone calls, texts, and emails from people just like you. We'd love to help you make that smooth move out to JBLM. And until next time, man, I can't wait till you're out here and I can show you around.